Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast. I'm Frances Cosway and I've helped hundreds of people create forever homes. I can't wait to share the journey with you. So let's start. Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast, as part of the sustainability series today. I'm very excited today to be talking about green tag accreditation. Now, there are so many green accreditations and certifications around for consumers to assess the sustainability of the products they buy. But how do we actually know how credible they are? And is it globally recognised and followed through for end-to-end production, which is something that I'm really passionate about personally. There's also a lot of what we term greenwashing around, where there's products that may have one component of a natural product or have one element that may be regarded as sustainable, and then people go away and call that a sustainable product. And that's certainly something that Green Tag's trying to change. It sort of reminds me of the term organic food or free-range eggs, where it can be so differently viewed and they're presented on the market in different ways. And there's definitely a big difference between one type of free range and another type of free range, and the same with organic. So as a designer, I am constantly informing clients about Green Tag certified products. So my clients can really make informed decisions about and choices when they want to use and choose sustainable products. Green Tag was something that was exposed to me when I started specifying porcelanosa ceramics many years ago. And it got me very, very interested in the Green Tag because it's an internationally recognised accreditation. And I also have many clients now, more so than ever, that are concerned about working conditions of people manufacturing the products that they are purchasing. And that is also music to my ears. People are coming up to me now saying, I really want to make sure that you're choosing products for us that don't have silica, for example, because they care about the people that are manufacturing those products. So today I want to introduce you to Green Tag, because I recognise that when I talk about Green Tag with my clients, many of them are not aware of it, but they're interested. And so I really wanted to dedicate a whole episode to talking about Green Tag and introducing it to you, but then also allowing you to understand why it's so important when you're actually specifying products and materials for your home, and not just building materials. It goes well beyond that as well. So Green Tag is voted one of the top 100 most trusted brands in Australia for over 3 years running. It's a global Green Tag international, specifies a selection of environmentally sustainable, healthy and ethical products for the building industry using global Green Tag. One of the most scientifically advanced third-party product accreditation systems in the world. And I think that third-party element is really important to understand. And I'm welcoming today David Baggs, the CEO and Program Director and co-founder of Green Tag International, to walk us through all you need to know about Green Tag certification. As a Program Director of our Global Green Tag Product Certification Program, David has helped develop and lead the world's leading beyond LCA-based product eco-label certification mark, and also Green Tag International's Product Health Declaration, Environmental Product Declaration and Modern Slavery Declaration programs, which support the advancement and uptake of healthy, ethical and environmentally conscious products on the planet. David is also a multi-award-winning green building architect, author, and the past president of the Australian LCA Society. So welcome, David. I think that I'm a little bit starstruck having you here once I read out about your bio. I'm so happy and also very humbled to have you here on the show. So thank you so much for taking time out with us today.
Thanks, Francis. Good to be with you.
So let's start with the basics. As you know, you heard me talk about in the intro, I have so many clients who have just got absolutely no idea, one, that there is such an accreditation available. But also, I really feel that Green Tag is really the superior accreditation in the world for end-to-end accreditation of green products, but also, as I've talked about in the intro, healthy products and the like. So let's just go with the basics. Can you tell us a little bit about, I suppose, a synopsis of what Green Tag is and what it stands for?
Yeah, I guess starting at the beginning, when we started Eco Specifier, which was a verifier of manufacturer claims, and had a commitment to make sure that only healthy products are, attach the eco specifier label. And in that space, people would ask us, well, it's great that you're third party, but who checks you? Who checks the checkers? So, we had the opportunity to hear what people wanted and then to set out to create a situation where we could hold our hands up and say, well, look, here are the standards that we apply, but and adhere to, but here are the people, external certifiers who come in and check that we are doing what we say we are doing. So, we're external, we have a quality management system. We're externally verified to the type 1 eco labeling standard ISO 14024. We're a externally verified conformance assessment body according to ISO 17065, and externally certified quality management system. So there are 3 different sets of audits that we undergo that come in and basically check that we do what we say we do, and then those certificates are on our website that you can see. So basically we ensure, and we really hold that third party independent aspect of what we do in the highest order. And that's before we even sort of introduce the concept of the fact that we are a certification mark, or a sort of what they call a certification trademark in Australia. And that's not like a regular trademark. To get recognition as a certification mark, we have to send our standards and the qualities of the education and the capabilities of our assessors to the ACCC, and have the standard and the qualities of our assessors certified or approved as being in the public interest. So we've even, we even have the ACCC, a certificate says that we're approved. Your standards and the qualifications of your assessors are approved as a certification mark in the public interest in Australia. We also hold that status in America and Canada and New Zealand and South Africa, and a similar sort of assessment mark in Europe as well. So we do have a global footprint, but we are based in Australia, and we do have a strong focus on the Australian market. Yeah.
But I think that's why I love it so much, is because it is international. There's so many marks. Like I was actually just talking to a supplier this morning, and they were talking about, oh, we've got a mark for, how our product's sustainable in Victoria, and then we've got it for, New South Wales. But really, when it's something like green tag, it means that it's international. And I think that it's having something that you compare like for like is what makes it easier, I think, for people to consume when it is a like for like standard. So, David, just for our listeners out there that may not be familiar with what even green tag is. So, I mean, I've talked very briefly about it being an accreditation program, or accreditation, as you said, a trademark in that essence. So just pulling it right back to basics, what is green tag for the listeners out there?
So in its very simplest format, we are we have trust marks. The certification, we have logos and symbols that manufacturers apply to their products that show different outcomes. Okay, so but there's, as you said, there's over 400 other eco labels out there in the world, and they typically have these pass-fail standards. You get a mark or you don't. And the mark is a multi-criteria. It sits across a whole lot of different things. Most people have no idea what's in that standard, and therefore they basically trust that the standard is meaningful. So we have a variety of different standards, and we look at a variety of different aspects across all of sustainability. And in its very simplest form, we look at a green tag that it is rated. It's a rating. It's tiered, bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, as an indication of just not that a product is good, but how good. And the fact that you don't have to just take something which is good, but you can actually look for something which is world leading. And so that's at its most basic. Sometimes we have whole of sustainability marks. Sometimes we have a mark, so like our health rate, which looks at the healthiness in use of a product, and that's a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum health rate. We have other aspects that also run, in a similar vein, but looking at the ethical aspects of their supply chains, modern slavery declarations. So, but we operate in a way where increasingly, and even from day one, in some systems, we have a mark. But if people want to see what's behind the mark, they can look one step deeper, and there's a scorecard, and they can see scores attached to the individual indicators. And then if they want to look deeper than that, there's even more transparency and more transparency. So, within some of the sectors that we're working in now, such as the product ingredient hazard and healthiness aspects and modern slavery, you can go down and look at the transparency report attached to the logo that shows you every single ingredient and the hazards attached to it, for not just the ingredients themselves, but the workers in the factories and the end users in their homes or offices.
That's
And you
incredible.
can look at a product health declaration, and there are 3 color radar bands. One, the top one is ingredient, the middle one is workers, the bottom one is in use. And so just by looking at how much red or yellow or orange or green is in each strip, you can tell in an instant whether the products, where the safety issues are, how they are risk assessed to change and be better. And then you can go to the back of the document and read a plain English explanation as to how and why an ingredient that's flagged as red might end up as green in use or in the factory. So we've been into the factories, we've looked at the processes, we've determined if there are gases being given off during a manufacturing process, that the workers are protected and their environment is tested, and that there's a safety aspect to the use of those chemicals that can be dangerous in their common forms, but when they're all mixed together, they come out as benign polymers, for instance. So, yeah.
And so, I think that almost answers that one of the next things that I wanted to ask you is what actually makes green tag certification different to others. And you mentioned that there's, let's call it 400 on the market. I mean, there's a lot. And as you say, it's like, well, what does that actually mean? And that there is weight behind the green tag. But some of the things that you're talking about now, is that what makes it a differentiated mark compared to some of the others on the market? I mean,
Exactly.
I just mentioned global, but the fact that you're doing, end-to-end supply chain. I know when I went to the Porcelanosa factory in Spain, the way they recycle their waste, it's a complete end-to-end process that you've been looking at to give them the accreditation. They were gold at that time, which is pretty high. I know you can go to platinum. So is that what creates a differentiation as to why green tag is what consumers should be looking at over any other mark?
I think if we boil it down to basics, the reason we do things differently is because we come from an architectural background. We come from a designer consultant background where we're used to interacting one-on-one with clients and the information they need, or working one-to-one with architects and designers and understanding the kind of information that they need. So, there are other transparency reports out there. I guess, sorry, let me take a step back. We do things differently. We do things more comprehensively. And we don't just stop where someone says, I want to know what, like there are other transparency reports for ingredient hazards out there in the marketplace. What they do is they stop at ingredients. They just look at ingredient hazards, and they might attach all these red flags to the different pre-polymers, for instance, and then leave it to the design industry and the mums and dads at home to try and figure that out. Like, they're not environmental toxicologists. As an architect,
No, I'm not.
I wasn't, I'm not even now, even though I've 20 years plus in trying to sort of work all that stuff out. So when we work in that space, we have a consultant, an external peer reviewer who's a qualified environmental toxicologist, to check the work we do before we even send it out for, send it to me for certification. So I guess the thing is we look at things from a different prism because we want what we do to be immediately usable without any need for further processing or review. So rather than just stop at the ingredients, we think, okay, we're the only people in the world who use a risk analysis assessment and go delve into what happens with that chemical in the factory at the worker station, how it's delivered, how those potential impacts are mitigated. And then, well, what happens when you combine all those ingredients together into a product? How does that affect, or what is the outcome of that product or that risk of that hazard still existing in the finished product? And look at that. If there is a risk of that toxicity still occurring in the finished product, then we get the finished product tested for that risk and determine that that risk doesn't exist before we certify it. So it is an end-to-end approach. And, if you look at our website, you'll see there's a plethora of different services, all of which relate to different aspects of certification. And, we apply this different kind of thinking, like the way we do our product health declarations is unique. No one else in the world is doing that. It's the same with our LCA rate program. It's a comparative life cycle analysis assessment that uses life cycle analysis, which is a very, very deep scientific assessment process that looks at every single aspect of every single product under 12 separate environmental and human health indicators, from the raw material extraction and concentrating through transport, packaging, factory, manufacturing, and end of life. And that's done for every single impact across the entire product supply chain for every ingredient and every industrial process, every bit of waste, every bit of pollution to air, to water, to land, whatever. So effectively, LCA is a very complex technique, but we use that, we create a benchmark product which performs the same function, and then everything in that category gets compared to the same base case, so that you can ask the question, what's the most sustainable floor, and compare timber to ceramics to rubber to vinyl to carpet to linoleum to stone, and get a valid answer, because we're looking, including cleaning and maintenance across the entire life of the product.
So I'm going to have to ask you now, David, what is the most sustainable floor? Or have I just opened a can of worms if I ask you that?
That's a can of worms, because the answer would be on which criteria.
Okay.
And I did that analysis. Like, it's a delicate balance doing what we do. Okay, we have the trust of the manufacturers and we have the trust of the market. So for us, let me put it this way: if someone wants to do that analysis, the information is on our website. But for us to do that, for us to do that analysis and to promote that outcome is not really fair to our manufacturers.
No, it's not. But I'm thinking about listeners. They're going to say, why didn't you ask him? Why didn't you ask him what the most sustainable floor was? So I thought I better do that, but I thought it might be opening up a can of worms.
The information is available to do that. And you can, if you look at an LCA rate certificate, a product that is certified under LCA rate, you can look at whether it's gold, silver, bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. That's the first pass. Then if you want to know, the layer below that, you look at the eco point score. And the eco point score in LCA rate is essentially a number between -100 and +100, or -1 and +1 to 2 decimal places. And if it's a negative number, that's better than a positive number, because it's taking impacts away from the planet negative impacts that already exist. So if you look at an eco point score of 0, that means it's a environmentally and health benign product. At +1, it's the equivalent to the business as usual base case. So you have a 200-point differentiation score to be able to figure out which is the most sustainable product just by looking at a single number.
Now, I absolutely know that there'll be people that go out there now, just knowing some of the clients that we have, that will be going onto the website now and working out all the different products and doing exactly that. What is the most sustainable floor? based on what criteria, as you say? And I hope someone's going to let me know what they've come up with.
It is an interesting process. We have done limited de-identified examples for some papers that we've done for the different conferences from time to time. And even within a category as small as particle board and chipboard, you can have products with that have carbon sink reality. You can have products that are sort of just basically carbon net zero. And then you can have, imported products that have massive emissions, and it's all the same raw materials.
Yeah.
So it's, it's not even about whether, trying to save carbon is not even about whether it's a bio-based material or not. It's about which product.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to use, the science and the data to actually figure it out before you make any broad generalizations. Because the reality is you can't make broad generalizations. It's not about vinyl floors or it's about ceramic tiles. It's actually about the product and what that manufacturer does with those raw materials and how they source them, how they manufacture them, what they use for energy, and all that sort of thing.
No, that's it's interesting that you say that, because I know if you look at products as a category, it is very easy to say, well, this is a less or a more sustainable product category than others. But as you say, it comes absolutely down to that exact manufacturer and how they're producing that product and their end to end to really make a call on it. So if I'm thinking about listeners and they're going, okay, this sounds really interesting, and you really touched on it as well, that it's not just about, products that you're using to build your home. It's about products that are, chemicals in the home. I know that you're looking at, the risk of, manufacturing workers and eliminating slavery and all that sort of stuff. I mean, you're even into beauty products and things that people are applying to their skin and so forth. So it's across such a broad, it's consumables as well as your building products as well.
Yeah, actually, you will find us on products in Bunnings. You will shortly see us on products in Woolies and Coles.
Wow.
One of the things that we're doing at the moment is developing what we're calling our nature positive declaration, which is really at its core trying to pull a metric together for circular economy that looks at circular economy beyond just resources, but ensures that a circular economy product that's brought to the market doesn't make other issues worse to get there and to have the materials go round and round. And to do that, actually bringing a whole lot of our services together. So the results of the product health declaration and some of the results from LCA rate, that comparative life cycle analysis, we put together with, benefit and life cycle benefit analysis and the modern slavery and International Labour Organization compliance pieces into a single summary page and all of the detailed documents backed up. So, that's something you can expect to see later this
That's
year.
exciting. And then I suppose that the great thing for that is, if it is in Bunnings, and well, you said it already is, but in Woolies and Coles, the brand name Green Tag is then more accessible. It's a known label, and then people will start looking at and identifying it in other markets as well for other products. So that's great for Green Tag overall. That's really exciting. I look forward to seeing that. So one of the things that comes up quite a bit for me as a designer is clients are really concerned from a health perspective, particularly around asthma and allergies. So are there particular things, are there particular certifications that Green Tag can help with to help consumers find products that are going to work really well for people that do have asthma or do have allergies?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, I mean, for the 2 years ago, we developed a technique to enable us to do that. And we offered it as a standalone service, and we didn't get much take up, which surprised me. So we mandated it. Anybody who wants to do our product health declaration assessment process now gets run through that screen as well. And they automatically, if the product passes, they automatically get that attribution.
Yeah.
and it's a little flag that appears under our health rate. It's a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum health rate, and then it has asthma or asthma and allergy sensitive claim underneath the health rate tag. It can
Mm.
have its own standalone sort of tag as well, but ultimately what that means is the product has been assessed against over 1,000 additional compounds that have even one scientifically proven example of it being an asthma or allergy trigger by the US-based Association of Environmental and Occupational Consultants. So it's a environmental toxicology consultants group that keeps its own list of compounds, and it updates that list for us every 3 months or so and sends us whenever they do an update, they send us the update. So that's over 1,000 extra compounds that we're screening for, and we do have a limit of screening which is 100 parts per million. So that's 0.01%. So that's as good as society can really get, the manufacturers can get in terms of knowingly adding compounds. That's as
So,
good as we can do. We really can't get to a declaration threshold below that without doing actual physical product testing,
mm,
which gets extraordinarily expensive.
yeah,
But 100 parts per million of the finished product against 1,000 products, and they get an asthma and allergy
it's
declaration.
it's pretty good. So consumers would then be looking for the green tag health rating certification,
Yeah,
and having that special allergy. So that's what they should be looking for to make sure that they're choosing products that are, well, the healthiest they can be for particularly for asthma and allergy sufferers.
yeah. I mean, and I would suggest that they. I mean, there aren't too many products with it yet because we actually only sort of just mandated it from the beginning of this year.
Mm,
There are some, and there will be more because I
yeah,
know that there are major groups who we have done health rate certification for, that have got platinum health rate, that are now looking at modifying their formulas to make sure that they can get the asthma and allergy sensitive claim as
yeah.
well.
It's just becoming more and more of an issue, and I mean, it's would be in their interest to do it because it is one of the key things that we kept getting. It's constantly thrown up with us is, we've got allergies in the household, or we've got asthma sufferers, and it's just becoming
Well,
more and more thing.
it's one of the things that got me into this whole field because I had a sister with chronic fatigue and a client with multiple chemical sensitivities in the mid 80s. So that's, I got
Mm.
into a situation where I would ask a plasterboard manufacturer, what's in your plasterboard cements, and they would say, oh, take a running jump, buddy. That's commercial confidence. And then fast forward to 95, when I'm sitting across the table from that exact same manufacturer on the panel selection for the Olympic Village in the lead up to the Olympic Village tender, and said, if you're going to be involved with this tender, you're going to have to tell me what's in your cements. And they said, what would you like to know, mixer bags? So
Wow,
I realized that it wasn't a matter of confidentiality, it was a matter of leverage.
of course. Wow, that's such a fascinating how it all came about with just with your sister. I mean, yeah, that's fabulous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, ultimately, it was kind of like you add these things together. I started off, doing earth covered
Mm,
buildings, then earth wall buildings, then straw bale buildings, then healthy buildings, passive solar along the way. Started
mm,
working with the rating tools, NatHERS. I was one of the earliest users of the NatHERS rating tool,
mm.
which is now the National Home Energy Rating Scheme, which is
Yeah, it
mandated in
is.
the building code. When
Yeah.
I first started using it, you would put your data in, press the button, and come back in the morning for the result.
Oh, wow. That's certainly not like that now.
No.
So you talked about, the bronze, silver, gold and platinum. So can you just walk through the different levels that manufacturers can achieve? And I suppose that is also opening up a can of worms. Is there a way that you can describe that it is a very high level? Because I know it's going to depend on the
Yeah,
product as well. So just as
it's
a high level, what consumers can expect across those four ratings?
yeah. So any of the ratings, when you get in at a bronze level, it means you have met certain minimum criteria.
Yeah.
Like we have a whole swag of compounds that are banned at any level. So it means even if we certify to a bronze level, that's a good product. It still has eliminated all of the toxics, of the worst of the worst of the toxics, and minimized to levels below the impact of health, compounds that might still have carcinogenic impacts, but they're in the product only at very low levels, and at levels not is shown not to have health impacts to the best of current science. So
Wow. Okay. So even at bronze, you're still getting an incredibly good product.
exactly,
Wow.
exactly. Um, and there's a sort of more commercially oriented sustainability rating scheme that we do called Green Rate, which is A, B, and C, because it ties up with the Green Star category credit requirements. But even at our level C for Green Rate, it's the same as bronze. It's that same elimination of all highly toxic materials, anything which is a persistent organic pollutant, PFASs, um, any substances of very high concern, and even those that are on the list to be put on the list to be a substance of very high concern,
Mm.
banned completely at any level above 100 parts per million.
Okay. So that's the bronze.
Yeah. So, and then really it's a sort of a sliding scale towards platinum, in as much as there are less compounds at a lower level
Mm.
from silver to gold. But at platinum, there are no compounds at any level, at any stage of the product, that trigger any health concerns,
Mm.
in particularly in the finished product. We
So
do
of
do.
all the, oh, sorry, David, keep going.
I was going to say, we do a risk analysis. Even at platinum, there is a risk analysis assessment. So you'll see, for instance, WeatherTech is a wonderful. It's our platinum certified manufactured, still our only platinum certified manufactured product. And if you look at the ingredient hazards state, it's 97% red classification, and at the use stage and the factory stage, it's green completely. It's like, how do you get from 99% red
Mm.
classification to 100% green in just one step? Well, the answer is the red hazard statement is attached to wood dust.
Right.
And during the manufacturing operation, there is no wood dust, because the wood is taken from a solid inside a steam gun and instantly, exploded with steam from solid wood into wood fiber saturated in water inside a seal pressure vessel.
So there's no dust.
And it comes out as a wet mat. So there is never at any point any exposure to any wood dust within the manufacturing process.
Mm.
So that risk that exists in the ingredient stage actually never exists. It's just a risk. It's just a statement which is attached to one condition
Mm.
of one of the ingredients. So yeah, just as an example.
I think just you explaining that process is really also highlights just how incredibly rigorous the accreditation is in terms of all the tiny little things that you're looking at, which you've talked about, of course, but just using that as an example.
Indeed.
So in terms of other types of products, because I touched on it before about, there's beauty products, there's, obviously we're talking here about, building and interior products. Are there other sorts of products that you said that you're going into Coles and Woolies? Are they going to be food products?
They're food. They're food associated
Oh,
products.
food associated. Okay, it's probably highly confidential.
Food preparation and waste removal products.
We'll watch this space. Actually, what I did want to ask you is, you talked about from bronze to platinum, and that WeatherTech's were actually one of the only manufacturers that's got the platinum. What's across the board? What sort of percentages are most companies? Like I'm assuming you've got a lot more in bronze than what you would in platinum, but have you still got quite a lot of gold? Look, most of the products that I see are gold.
Indeed. To be platinum, you have to be in the top 15% based on your eco point score.
Right.
There's a similar range between gold and silver and bronze in terms of the eco point scores. But if you a lot of the products we have are flooring, and a lot of those are polymer products. So because a lot of those polymers have toxic precursors, so that you basically put compounds which have hazard statements attached to them, when you combine them together, they actually form a completely different compound, which is benign. The pre-polymers become polymers, and chains link all of the molecules together, and they therefore don't have the same sort of chemical features as they do in the ingredient stage. So, but because they have toxic pre-polymers, they can't get beyond gold.
Right. Okay.
So they're safe in the outcome, in the healthiness in use. They get a platinum health rate, but at a sustainability level, because they have the toxic precursor, there's a risk of toxic spill during transport. Some tanker tips over, or a ship gets wrecked or whatever. So that risk means you can't have a platinum product. So
that explains why there's a lot more gold around.
Correct.
Just because of the raw material that's being used at the start.
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's not too many polymers. We use a lot of polymers, and there's not too many polymers that don't have toxic precursors. Some of them are, brought to the surface more often, but pretty much all polymers have toxic precursors. And therefore, anything that's made out of plastic or a polymer basically won't get to platinum.
Yeah.
That I've seen so far. That's it.
maybe it'll change.
Yeah.
So if consumers are, listeners are like, yeah, I'm sold on the green tag, how can they find out if they've got a product that they're really interested in? There might not be a label there, because most, the products will be labeled. People are proud to have a green tag certification. How can they find out if the product they're interested in is green tag certified?
They don't even have to come to our website. They can literally just put the name of the product and green tag, and green tag is one word, green tag, into Google. It's as simple as that, because nothing we do comes with a paywall or a login, and it's 100% accessible to Google.
Awesome.
So all they have to do is go straight to their search engine and just put the name of the product and green tag, return. That's it.
Bang.
That's all they have to do. That will take them to a link, if it exists, to the product page against which all the certification is. Or if they want to, they can come to the website and they can search the website 4 ways. They can do a keyword search for the product, just type the name of the product into the keyword search. They can do a product category search, so flooring. They can do a certification type or relevance, something they can search for recycled content. They can search for product health declarations or LCA rate by single click, or they can look at the manufacturer's name. They can go to the manufacturer's alphabetic listing, and all the products that we do for that, all the certifications that we do for that manufacturer are attached to the manufacturer's name. So you can come at it lots of different ways. Simplest thing is just to use Google.
The website's awesome though. I mean, it's you can you know, when I started playing around with it, it's like you can just get lost in there because you think, oh, now I want to look at this product, and there's so many categories. So it is an awesome website. There's so much information there.
Thank you.
So are you finding that you're needing to go to, I'm actually interested in this myself, actually. People are coming to you because they want to be, as in manufacturers are coming to you because they want to be green tag, or are you still finding that you need to go out there and encourage them to become green tag certified?
It's
Or
a
is it a
little
bit of
bit of
both?
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
The most comforting thing for me is our biggest new clients are our existing clients.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
you know, someone will come in, they'll put their foot in the door, they'll certify one product range, like Dulux, right? They come in, they certified one commercial range. They like the experience, they like the outcome, they like what happened for them in the marketplace.
Mm.
Come back, and now they've done 3 ranges with us, and they're bringing other divisions in, and yeah, so there's a whole, sort of, so when that happens, you know you're doing something right, you know. Um, so it's a bit of both, because one of the things particularly in the commercial sector is uh, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of churn in the standards, and it's very hard for manufacturers. It's very hard even for us to stay up to date.
Mm.
It's a week by week updating process, not a month by month or quarter by quarter or year by
Mm.
year. So I spend a lot of my life just educating,
Yeah.
just talking, just you know, you know, we had 140 sales team and marketing team and business development team members on one manufacturer call a couple of weeks ago, um, just keeping them updated,
Mm.
what the market is doing. And of course, at the consumer end, it's about sort of, there's a proximity relevance. If it's about me or what's on me or in me or immediately around me, then that's what's important. So the focus is very much on health. There's an increasing focus on carbon and climate impacts, and that's really good to see. So that's why we have both, the very deep life cycle analysis kind of science around, that comes out as an environmental product declaration sort of report. But we've also got a carbon rate tag that actually shows you that this product,
Mm.
compared to a comparable product, makes a 60% saving, or is carbon neutral, or is climate positive. Yeah.
Look, I'm finding, that particularly in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, people are asking more and more for sustainable products. Like they really care. It comes out in the briefing session that we want Australian made is becoming more and more paramount, which is awesome. But also we want it to be sustainable, renewable, carbon neutral, that we are being asked that more and more, which things are changing. It's slow. And I think Australia is a long way behind what's happening in Europe, but it is slowly changing. And I think that there'll be more and more people asking for the accreditation. I only want to use products that are, green tag certified. And I mean, when we do have clients that are very focused on sustainability, it's like, okay, we're only going to specify green tag. So it's only going to get bigger, I think, as
Yeah,
people care more and more, particularly with the younger generations, the millennials and the generation after them.
sure.
It's a big deal for them. It's
Yeah.
a really big deal for them. So it's great. And I think that just the fact that more and more people are asking for it is wonderful, that you're well and truly ahead of the bell curve.
Well, we do have over 16,000 unique SKUs under certification for over 200, I think it's 230 companies now, either certified or under certification, with factories in 22 different countries.
Mm.
Um, the good thing that we see is manufacturing is coming back to Australia now,
Yes.
and therefore, we do have, a local manufacturer assessment criteria. We're just about to rejig the website, in mild ways. And one of the things that will appear will be local manufactured products.
Oh,
And
that's brilliant.
as we've recently introduced single button searches for post-consumer recycled content products, that sort of thing.
Mm.
They're not all fully connected yet. That will happen over time. You'd still, if you wanted to look for recycled content, you'd still be better to do a keyword search on recycled than just use the single touch button, because it's only a recent addition and not all the products are connected to it. But you know, you'll
But
be able to make those sorts of improved searches shortly.
I mean, what a resource for Australians that they can, get the environmental criteria, the sustainability criteria, and then also look for Australian made. I mean, that's the dream, I think, for most, is they want to support local industry and have a sustainable product at the same time. So that's an awesome addition to be adding. So is there any, I suppose in finishing up for today, is there any other helpful tips or anything else you want to share about Green Tag for the listeners today?
I think the most important thing is just to actually start exploring, is to have a look at what's around, what's there, what products are available. And actually, in that, the most important thing is when you go into a store, is to ask for Green Tag certified products. Because, I walked into a flooring store not so long ago and said, "Have you got any Green Tag certified products?" And they went, "What's Green Tag?"
That's exactly what I was going to say to you.
And I said, that's really interesting and very disappointing, because that product there is Green Tag certified. 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 You have at least half a dozen third-party certified products on display in your showroom, and yet you're not displaying the logos. It was like, not our responsibility, it's the manufacturer's responsibility. Yeah, okay. Do you think it might be a sort of a market leading thing to extract that, to identify the fact that if you look in the brochures, and we went and looked in the brochures and, oh, look, there, wow, it's in the brochures. I didn't realize. Like, it's one of the things that never ceases to amaze me, why manufacturers, it's one of our major messages to manufacturers. You need to start using the logo in point of sale in the consumer sector. They use it in the business sector, but they don't think it has a draw in the consumer sector, so they don't use it in the consumer sector. And that's one of the things, the biggest thing that you can do as a consumer or a professional is to ask for certification. And then to be explicit about choosing something that isn't certified. That's when you get a manufacturer's attention. If they're losing business because they're not certified, they go into a great panic.
And that just sounds absolutely crazy to me. I've got a marketing background, and it is such a good differentiator. It's an instant, super easy differentiator. Why wouldn't you promote it to the end consumer? It just seems like madness. They've gone to all that effort. But yeah, look, who knows? But what you were saying prior around, you go in and say, I would like a green tag certified product. It actually blows me away when I have new suppliers coming to us showcasing their product. And one of the first things I'll ask is, are you Green Tag certified? And most of the time they don't know. They'll say, what is Green Tag? And it absolutely blows me away that they are the salesperson representing that product and they don't even know. And then they'll actually come back to me and go, oh, we actually are Green Tag certified.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And that's B2B. That they're not aware, and they're not arming their salespeople or their reps with this information. And it's one of the first things I will ask.
And we have a whole Green Go program for manufacturers that provides training programs for their teams. We do free training programs for their teams. We have even little sales descriptions, little scripts on how to describe what we do and what it is, and it's all aimed at sales teams. That's all available free to any manufacturer that gets certified. But at the end of the day, it comes down to that manufacturer, how their team is directed, how their team is educated, and how far down the line that information spreads. But
And I think
it
also,
spreads
sorry,
a
David.
lot. It spreads a lot more quickly when a shop owner or a consumer says to the rep, "Where's your green tech certification?"
And that's what I was just about to say. It almost needs to be a pull marketing rather than a push marketing. As soon as consumers start asking for it, then they'll go, oh, hey, we need to actually start letting them know, or we're going to miss a sale.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it's interesting.
it came as a surprise to us in I think it was 2019 now. A group called Mobium did a consumer sector lifestyle of health and sustainability sector, the LOHAS sector consumer report, and they polled 2,600 people, and we were one of the top 20 most recognized eco labels in the consumer sector, and it really blew me away. It's like, how did that happen?
That's
Because,
great.
you know,
Well, all the listeners here are going to know all about Green Tag now, and they're going to start asking about it. So there's some pull marketing happening straight away.
oh, that's
It's
awesome.
been fabulous having you on the show today, David. I so appreciate your time. It's been, I've certainly learnt heaps more about Green Tag than I did before speaking to you today, and your passion and how it all started is just tremendous.
Thanks, Francis. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate your enthusiasm.
Oh, I love it. So, yeah, I just hope that everyone now goes out there and starts asking for Green Tag, not only for sustainability reasons, but all the health reasons that come with it. So thank you so much, David.
We like to deliver the bullets for people to fire.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much.
And hopefully they're silver bullets.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of My Forever Home. If you're ready to renovate or build a new home and you need help to create a beautiful and functional forever home, you can book a chat with me directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/chat. Have a great day.